Blog Talk Radio.
Hey everybody, welcome to Kingdom Justice, and this is your host Courtney Jones speaking, and today we are back, and we've been going over the series, Fighting the Spirit of Adultery. We've been going over the series, Fighting the Spirit of Adultery, and today it seemed like we are on our last final day. We was on this teaching, and it's going to be a long teaching today. So hope everybody will sit back and have patience and enjoy this, what we've been going over. When I did part 3, I was waiting on God to see that He wanted to go any further. I knew He was going to do something because we still had another day to go, and so I knew He was going to do something. And He reminded me of some things that He opened up to me, that this spirit comes with another spirit, with another component it comes with, that it works together. So it's like almost there are, just like you have the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit and us supposed to be one with God, you also have this spirit. This spirit here also has another component to another spirit to it, and that's the accuser. You notice that the accuser is Satan, just like the spirit of adultery is led by Satan. And we also have, like I said, we call the spirit, the accuser. Now, we know we went through all the stories we went through. Remember we went through, so I'm just going through this briefly. Remember we went through the story of Joseph. We went through the story of Joseph. And we was talking about Genesis chapter 39, verse 6. We went through the story of Joseph. We were talking about how when Joseph did not want to sleep around with the woman, when he did not want to sleep with the woman, of course we see how the woman was, she got angry because he rejected her. Now she tried to entice him, but that wouldn't work. He rejected her, so she got angry. And we talk about how that spirit of adultery, how it started to use intimidation and factor, even use power that it may have over a person like she did. She had power like that. And then she falsely accused the person, which we know the accuser. Now, that's when we want to get to that part, the accusing part. Notice that she accused him of a vile crime that he didn't even commit. We see this all the time with people. When people sometimes they get names, they get reputations, and all of a sudden things start to happen bad in their lives. All of a sudden, people coming against them. All of a sudden, their reputation, the devil starts to do, they start to attack a person's character. You'll see them attack a person's character. All of a sudden, they're looking in this man everything, and this man finances, man this, the man trash. They're looking for any reason, anything they can accuse them. And if they can't find anything, they'll make up a story, and they just pumping and pushing. We see the media do that with celebrities. We see the media do that with celebrities and stars. Come up with a story, looking through these people. They try anything they can get on these people, any gossip, any things they can accuse them of. And when they can't, they just create and fabricate a story. And people, usually, what people do is, since it's on the news or since it's out there like that, it must be true. And so it's an accusing component to this. And you notice that Joseph had a good name. At this point, even though he was a slave, notice he had a good name. But notice how the woman, when he rejected her, she didn't see him as being anything anymore. She just seen him as being nothing. He's just a slave, a Hebrew slave that had come here to insult me, and she really just threw dirt all over his name, and she assassinated his character, his name. So she's accused him of this. Of this vile crime, and he had to go to prison, falsely accused over this. So these are things. Notice it's an accusing component to this. How the accuser comes up in this every time we go through the stories of that is always that whole accusing factor. We look at even in Jesus' story. We're looking in the Gospels with Jesus, how you see how they falsely accused him. they falsely accused him. They had witnesses after witnesses coming up, lying on him, making up stories on him. Another thing too, you had people who was also witnessing that they didn't understand what Jesus was doing. Like for instance, witness, they saying, well, he said that he's going to destroy the temple in 3 days. They said stuff like that, which was true. He did say this because he's talking about his body. Now, he was talking about something that was spiritually discerned, but they didn't have spiritual discernment. So therefore, in their eyes, it looked at evil. So they trying to use this as blasphemy, or this is a terrorist attack because he said, I'm going to destroy this temple. They looked at it, it was a terrorist attack. It's like when he told them to, eat my flesh and drink my blood. They said, oh, no, they started accusing him. Oh, this man is mad. He's this. This is a hard teaching. They started to throw stones at him. Hey, what the Pharisees said about this guy is true. He got a demon in him. Because he's talking about cannibalism. That's insane. He's talking about eating a person. How are we going to eat his flesh? See, he was talking about stuff that was spiritually discerned, spiritual revelation. They couldn't understand it, so what they did was they started to accuse him of being something that he wasn't, because they didn't understand things that were spiritual, that came from God. They didn't understand the spiritual revelation in it. They didn't understand that, so they looking at it like, what do you mean eat your flesh, drink your blood? But they don't look at the components of the spirit. Where you go back to Exodus and God talking about the lamb, even the Passover lamb. He's talking about this lamb. You see, and this is one of the things we have to understand. When you're going back into Exodus, and I'm not mistaken, I think it's Exodus Exodus chapter 12. So I want to make sure. Yeah, Exodus chapter 12. When you go to Exodus chapter 12, and that's what I'm going to make sure that's the right thing, the right scripture. In Exodus chapter 12, it talks about how God was telling about the lamb. Now, notice that God is talking about this lamb, and how the lamb, of course, had to have no spot or wrinkle, which we know that's Jesus, no doubt. And if you got doubt about that, if you have doubt that he ain't, then give him a try, and humble yourself, and you'll find out there's no doubt anymore about that. Now, we notice that God told him to do this at the 10th. He also talks about how God told him to do this on the first of the month of the year. Also, he said, notice the 10th of the month. God always do the 10th, meaning tithes, spiritual tithing. Not saying that you're not supposed to do physical tithing, no, but I'm saying that that's just showing you even more so. Think about it. When you look at physical tithing, you're looking at just paying maybe 10% of, so for instance, you make $500, you're paying $50. You're looking at paying that. But spiritual tithing is much more. You see, spiritual tithing represents your all. So most people don't get their whole check. Sometimes you go check $1,000 a week or 2 weeks or whatever, and you give everything to God, the whole thing every time. Most people don't do that. But in spiritual tithing, that is what you do. That is what you do. That's what you do. You give everything to God. And if you're not there yet completely, you gave some things, well, you need to work towards that, because you want to be full of the Holy Spirit. And what I mean the Holy Spirit is fully dominating your whole life, because what you don't want is a shadow. See, that's why, me and my cousin was talking about this, and I think this is something very interesting to go on. We were talking about how, people casting shadows, how the Bible is speaking of this as well. And the thing is that a shadow, what it does, it takes up light. So it blocks out the light. You see, and that's what we don't want in our lives. We don't want to have. That's why you notice that everyone has a shadow. That means that represents showing that it's a point of your life where people's lives, where they walk around, where it's the light is being blocked. The light is being blocked. It said, God is a consuming fire. God is so much light to the point where he could his light illuminates everything. So there's no shadow around him. You see, he's full of truth, full of light. There's no bowl put on them in any area. Well, when we in the situation of this, when we're dealing with this situation with us, sometimes we'll let God in one area, another area, and the rest of it's dark. You see, so somebody may look and say, well, man, I see that you like that. And so they see that light in you. They see also the light in you with maybe with other things, with your healing. Like, you're always healthy, man. God keep you. And see, I see the light in that. I see also, you know what? You're good at this understanding the word and the lightness of that. But it's other areas in his life where it's shadows because he haven't fully, gave up the tent. Once a person starts to give over themselves to God, and this is why it's good for people to go through these trials. We go through these trials with God. We're walking God through the church of Israel through the wilderness. It's good to go through this trial to pick up your cross and follow Jesus. It's good to do this because as you're going through these trials, you're learning a lot. You're going to different levels. And in different levels, it's a compassion component to the level too. It's a compassion component. It's a humbling component. You're starting to feel more humble. Even when you came in humble, you feel more humble. And you can see the Holy Spirit is humbling you. So even in those areas that you had trouble before, you're starting to see yourself transform. You're starting to see yourself like before where you may have got up some days and missed your prayer time with God for a couple of hours. All of a sudden, no, you're waking up before time. You're waking up and automatically you're in a position of praying. So it's like, I'm waking up, I need to pray. And, it's pushing you, not pushing you, but I'm saying it's putting you in, it's making sure that you don't fall short. You see, that's one of the things people don't pay attention to. When you give, people say, well, you got a choice. You don't want, no. Listen, once you give yourself over to the Holy Spirit, he starts to form you and transform you. He's going to transform you into these things. You see, what you think lacking, he's going to give you. What you've been, what you don't see, he's going to show you. And so this is a good thing. A lot of times people don't like that whole control word. When you say submit and control, in this day and age in certain countries, certain places, it haven't been taught, especially like America where everybody free and liberated. Everybody don't know how it is to be a servant. Everybody know how it is to be a servant, and especially a servant of death. So they putting completely, totally someone over them. Everybody not willing to do that to a degree. And the most they're willing to do it is that, like I said before, a lot of people, one thing I learned about a lot of people is kids. Kids put people in this position. God wanted us to have kids for a reason, for us to have kids for a reason. A lot of times what we do is we put them kids over God, and that's what I see a lot of times. A lot of women have this very, very bad. My kids are everything, and they're so stuck in my kids are everything. I do anything for my kids. See, I see, and that's the problem. You see, some of them baby them, some of them doing too much. They're not letting God. It's all soul control, all soul attachment, soul connection, and that means that because if it was spirit connection to it, what it will be is you would do what's right for that child, not what feels right, but what is right. You see, and people are like, I don't want to be the bad guy. I want to be the friend. You are the parent. So a lot of times people do this and they start to create kids in the wrong manner. We create these Havites. You create these, some people just treat their kids in a rotten way and they create these parasites. And I mean, it's just, these are things that sometimes people do. They become this obsession, some of them, with their kids. And when they do that, you'll hear them, well, listen, I know that was wrong, but I couldn't let my kids, I had to let me, do it for my kids. See, they know that it's wrong. I know I shouldn't co-sign on another car because I know that's the wrong decision. I know I shouldn't let them go here, but I can't be the bad guy. I can't let them hate me. I can't let them this and that. Well, it's God. He will let you. If a child don't want it, he will let them go off. You see, he'll let them go off like the prodigal son returned. You see how it took off. The son took off. You notice that you didn't hear God chasing after him to try to get him back. You didn't hear God chasing after him to say, hey, listen, I tell you what, come back home, I'll give you whatever you want. No, He let the boy go out, and when he got tired of the foolishness and got tired of the world and tired of what was going on, he came back home. Now that don't mean that God ain't trying to reach out to people, because there's people that knows that God is, they out there and God's still trying to reach out to them, but God is not going to change his system, and he's not going to sit there and say, okay, come back to me and I do anything you want. See, that's not how he's going to do it. Because even though God has a soul too, and his soul is full of mercy, compassion, he's full of these things, he still, you have to understand, he still is not going to let that get in the way of him doing righteousness, doing justice. He's not going to let that get in his way. That's, even if it's a punishment that sounds so terrible, he's going to do it. So he's not going to shy away from it because it needs to be done. And so he's not going to let his soul get in the way. If you let his soul get in the way, it'd be just like people where it's too harsh. I can't do it. And it need to be done, you see. Children need to be disciplined. If no one's going to do it because your soul going to get in the way, then you can't do anything. You see, you're going to always just like, I feel so bad. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to do this. And you're going to always thinking that you're doing the right thing because you're trying to feel the right thing. You see, that's the thing about the soul. You're always trying to feel the right thing. Let me feel it. And then the flesh wants to see the results. So the flesh wants to see, hey, is this discipline actually working? Let me see. Is it working? With God can be doing things around your neighborhood, around the place that you're praying. You never even know it's going on until actually you start to, and it's funny how God do things. Then all of a sudden he'll start letting you go out and walk that neighborhood, or go out and start put you in these people's lives where they just somehow they drawn to you. And then you start to see all the judgment you've been praying of God throughout your neighborhood to clean it up, to get people right. All of a sudden you start to see it taking its toll on people. You start seeing people saying, oh, this is happening. And I remember one guy, came out to me and said, listen, I just know I need God right now. I just know I need God. And see, it's funny how the judgment of God was going forth in this person's life, you see, and it started to tear down all that stuff that was foolishness that's keeping them from God, that foolishness that they're holding on to. And all of a sudden, some of that stuff becomes grotesque to people. And some of that stuff started to be a burden to people. And you start to just see how God is actually moving in that. People want God. They want to be born again. They just want to start cleaning their life up. Before they couldn't see anything. They're just doing it. All of a sudden now they starting to, something's opened them up to, I know what I'm doing was wrong. Now I really know, and now it's really affected me. See, the judgments of God going forth, and this is why this is an important component, judgment of God, using it and applying it, the judgment of God, not accusing, being an accuser of like the Satan is, who's sitting back just want the judgment or the wrath of God to go on people because he wants them to be hurt and want them to be destroyed. You see, that's what he wants. He wants the wrath of God to come down on people. He wants God himself to pull the trigger on the people. You see, that's what he wants. He wants to get God to do it, and he wants to get the person to do it. So he wants to get the person to admit that they're wrong and they've been doing this, and it's all about them. It's all their fault. His hands are clean, and so therefore he can have God be the one who say, okay, pass judgment on. And so therefore that's what he wants. That's what he always wanted. You see, that's one of the biggest components that this accuser wants. You see, that's why he tried to get you to commit adultery, try to get you to sway his way. And when you don't want to sway his way, what happens? He started to try to intimidate you. We've seen that intimidate you, threaten to kill you, imprison you, try to make things hard in your life, try to have people reject you. You're going to get jobs, they reject you. People going in to get cars, they reject you. People trying to buy homes, they reject you. Trying his best to keep you out his system. You see, he's trying his best to keep you out, going into places that to get something repaired, and these people all evil to you. Your coworkers evil to you. Just trying his best to say, if you don't accept this mark of the beast, I'm going to make things rough around here. But see, one thing in that is that the just shall live by faith. Now, you notice they did this to Joseph. She accused Joseph like the accuser of Satan is. They accused Joseph. He went to prison. See, he went there into prison, and notice God had promoted him. Here's a man, reputation went down to trash, where now he's the guy that's tried to rape his master, his master wife. He's the guy that was esteemed around certain, people, and now he look like a rapist. Excuse me. Now he like no one trusts him. Now he look like all this. Like no one trusts him. No one cares, anymore about him. All of a sudden he's just this disgustable person that we thought he was something that he ain't. And so, so they're falsely accusing him. Well, notice how God ended up taking him from that prison all the way to the palace, all the way to notice how God, even though all that was happening, notice how that there was some components in that suffering that he went through, that God took that and God turned it into helping him build up, and he put him over the whole thing. You notice that when Joseph was in prison, God made him the man over the prison. So see, everywhere he go, even though he would be promoted up, he would rise up. I'm just saying he would rise up. And so, even though people try to assassinate your character, even though they try to accuse you of something, even though they try to put you through some things or some suffering, you getting from people or your name or suffering, in them components of what's happening, God is doing something there, and God keep raising you up, even though the people and this accuser want to put you down. We go back into Job, which we're gonna get into Job. I don't want to jump ahead too far right now. We got a long time, but I'm saying just the whole thing into the accusing thing. See, they're trying to use that as a component, as a weapon against the person, because all this goes with the spirit of adultery. Because when you don't take the nice road, you don't take the bribe they trying to give on you, you don't take the selling out part, then they trying to put the other factor on you, trying to intimidate you, trying to come after you with everything they have, because they forget, because they're hoping that they can terrify you, put fear in you, and that you will forget that you're a son of God. You forget all the authority that was given unto you. Now, remember, we was in Exodus chapter 12. I was talking about this. Now, notice that Jesus, of course, we'll go back to Jesus was the lamb. The lamb, they said that you have to eat the lamb and give a tenth. That's what we left off on, the tenth. Well, we went into the tenth, because, that's the thing that you're going to have to give. You know, that spiritual tithe, like we say, is given all. And that's what a lot of believers have to understand, that they're going to have to give all, not some. We don't want shadows. We don't want shadows around us. We don't want shadows around us, or we don't want to be preaching things that's causing shadows, meaning that I don't want to be preaching something to you that's not true, that's going to cause a shadow, where if the person believes that, and if I'm wrong, then what happens is that person will have a dark spot now, because they didn't took in this, and then this is going to clog their light, because they took in this doctrine, or took in what I'm saying, and is wrong. So this is why false prophets are so dangerous, because they cast shadows, in people's lives. They blind people. People be walking around in darkness, you see, and so they putting bows over people, you see. So people who, when they get born again, they're shining in this light, and all of a sudden they're putting the person under the bed. They're putting bows on them and throwing them under the bed, because they know the truth. The person trying to get the truth, they already got born again. That was the truth of being born again. And so once they got born again, they washed clean. Then here's their light, that new birth experience, that light coming in. And then they go into these churches, or certain people, the churches they going into, and then all of a sudden you got some of these false prophets. They're preaching, they're putting shadows there, because they're preaching false doctrine. When a person receives that in, then now what happened is blocking out the truth, the light. So when someone comes along and starts speaking the light to take that bowl off, they're mad. They want to say, no, don't turn that light switch on. And then they get mad and they want to hurt a person. You see, they want to hurt a person, they want to talk to a person, and they end up being an enemy of God than actually being a child. They end up being this rebellious child that's trying to fight. And I was talking about this in the teaching we did, the last series we were talking about the spirit of foolishness. I would tell you about how I seen a little girl out there outside, and she, and she had a little brother, and the girl probably about 6, 7. I was thinking about 7 or somewhere around there. The little boy about 5, and the little girl was grabbing his arm because he was getting too close to a car that was passing, and so she was trying to keep him from getting hit because he wasn't aware about the car, or I don't know, he cared or he was aware he was young. So she was trying to do that, and once she got him away from him, he got mad. When she let his hand go, he got mad because she kept trying to force him into going in this position that he didn't want to be in. So when she let him go, he got mad and started trying to swing her, trying to fight her. Now notice that the truth was that this car was going to kill him. But see, you notice he was blinded by something. He was blinded by age in that situation. He was blinded by age, not understanding the consequences of what was going on. And that's what happened to a lot of believers. They get born again, they're young, they're babes, and we see a lot of people that's 20 years, 15 years in the church. They're still in the same situation. They're still in the infant stage. They haven't moved. And so they're blind. You know, they're still in this elementary stage, and so they're blinded like that kid was. They're blinded by the consequences of things, you see. And so it's up for the mature believers to say, hey, listen, let me pull your arm. But sometimes, like I said, that's what's going to happen. They're going to fight people because they don't understand what the consequences is. They don't understand what's really going on. They forgot their identity. And so they forgot their identity. So the first thing happens to a person like that, you see, they've been cut off from the truth. They cut off from all reality of the truth, you know. And that's why a lot of times we have all kind of division. We have a lot of kind of division. And I mean with this, when you see a person that's a believer, then you see something that's physical, like science. That's physical. Then we see something like, you know, science, and we see nature, and we see certain things like this. Well, notice how when you study these animals and study certain things, God actually created this animal to the story that he's telling you. So he's using them animals as symbols. So when somebody a scientist go and they discover these things, they start actually looking into the DNA, they following this animal around, they're seeing what they eat, they're doing this. And so here's a science component to this. Now, all of a sudden, here come a scientist saying that, hey, that animal is this, such. They also do this, and you're taking this much protein. And then you have these believers, I don't believe that stuff. You know, these religious, I don't believe that stuff. All that mumbo jumbo. And all that this and all that that. Now, notice that that's the truth. Notice that's the truth. Notice God used that animal because he wanted you to know the truth about what he was saying. That's why he created it. But people will automatically religiously and say, oh, I don't believe that mumbo jumbo, all this here. Hey, listen, God made it, all the animals and all of it. That's all it need to be. Just simplify. They don't. See, God won't do it. But they will knock down science and that mentality. I'm saying just that. They'll knock all that down because in their religious beliefs. See, and they learn to reject the truth because, no, that person actually telling the truth. That actually is what this animal is doing. That actually is what's going on with that animal in his body. This actually is what it is. And God knew that. That's why God created it. But see, when you reject the truth, you reject Jesus. See, people don't get is Jesus is not just some truth. Jesus is not just some truth. You see, Jesus is all truth. So when we start rejecting the truth, like we talking about the stars, now it's a reason why God did the stars, the seasons. See, when people start to say, you know, when the truth is being shown, and people starting to say, I don't want to hear that. That's poppycock. See, they reject the truth. They're rejecting Jesus. They're rejecting truth. So in that area, that's a shadow. See that. So when it comes to that, you know what? You're not going to get that knowledge. You're not going to know it. You're not going to know the power of it. You're not going to respect it. That's why you see David and them say, oh, they looking out at the stars, looking at this here, and they look at the constellations, and they saying, wow. They looking at those things, and they understand what it means. Not looking at it the way the children of Israel was looking at it to worship it. No, they looked at it for what it was. They knew exactly what the story was, and when they knew what the story was, they looked at it. Notice God told Abraham to look up at it. To tell, to list, to tell means to number, and so notice he told them to look up at it. See, but what happens is people do what they do. They looked up at it and they got drawn to it. You see, and people start to pervert it. You see, pervert the truth. And so when people knew the truth, they look up at it and say, wow, look how amazing God did this. See, look at this here. So when someone started to talk about the truth about those things, people start saying, oh, poppycock, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to. See, they reject it. But then all of a sudden when Jesus said, I'm coming, you're going to see the Son of Man at the right hand, coming in the power, on the right hand of the Father. Well, you hear him saying this, you thinking, well, why did he say this? You know, when you start hearing Jesus saying certain things that goes to the stars, but yet you don't know what it means because you have a shadow cast. So you got a dark spot there. And as long as you got that dark spot there, the accuser will take an advantage of a person like this. He would try to take advantage of a person because of that lack of information, or because that person refusing the truth and want to walk in a lie and reject it. So he'll take advantage of that if he can. He's going to take advantage. Same thing, like I said, we'll go back to the church of Israel. Now, Jesus is the Lamb, so that means he's the truth. He's not just some truth. He's not just truth that you want to have in the church. He's all truth. You see, we know gravity is truth. So you throw something up, it's coming down. Okay, that's the truth. That's the truth. That's a truth. So we reject that and say that's not true. That's not how God did it. Notice, man did not create this. God created it. So there's a reason why he did it. So in that, it's the truth. So if a man say, oh, you know what, this is 50%, it's 50% sodium, this and that, and he created this here. And then people say, wow, well, I don't believe in all that. But that's what God did. God knows science. God created it all. All science are doing is observing what he did physically, what the world did. You see, they looking at the component of that. They're just like, wow, we know this is made up of this, that. You see, that's what they're doing. That don't mean that when they find out that certain things ain't true. But then what they are trying to prove, a lot of them, they're trying to figure out a way to cancel out the Creator and cancel out the Creator and trying to rise science above the Creator. Can't do that. Not going to work. And can't do that is not going to work. You see? And so that's one of the things that they do. They try to separate that from the Creator, from God. And when you do that, that's just foolishness. Instead of walking in God and know that and see the truth of that and the truth of God, to see the truth all around. No, they're going to cast a big old shadow. See, they're going to sit there and be in darkness. In a big picture, they're going to reject the truth. See, they're still rejecting the truth because they're just looking at the physical components. They're looking at Certain things. They're looking at stuff that state the obvious, what you can see with your face to flesh. Oh, look, it's obvious. I watched this bird. He keep doing this. The other one's doing that. See, they're profiling. It's no different than you personality profiling. Same thing. They're profiling. But that don't mean that them animals don't have those behaviors because they're operating in those behaviors. You see, because that's the level of instinct or what they've been driven on. So they're operating the same in those ways, just like people. When people are animal-like. So when people start to get away, they're not walking in God. They're walking in the beast of the field mode, where they're just animals that not acknowledging the God or not being guided by God. And then this beast mode, they all tend to do the same thing. You can say, oh, this group over here, they do this. You can easily start profiling. It's not really hard. Start profiling. You see, when you start looking at the spiritual components of them, you can really start profiling them. When you look at it from the spirit standpoint, you know, hey, that person there got a parasite problem, parasite this is a. See, you start seeing, oh, that person Amorite, this is. So you start profiling in a different magnitude. You see what this. But that's what I'm saying. People start to try to do what you call profiling. And they'll start saying, well, let's put a group here, group there, group here, group there, that does this, that does this, that does that. And that's how people normally do it. They'll start trying to do it in that manner. But they're not trying to go on just the God discernment. They're going on by learn by experience. Discernment, learning by experience. And this is the stuff Laban was using with Jacob, not just witchcraft. He was doing learn by experience, which people do that, learn and trial and error. Hey, I mess up. I had to mess up 100,000 times just to get it to work. And hey, I got it to work. So you know what? I kind of forget about all the times I messed up on it, but I got it to work. You see, and so this is a lot of times how people have to really. Hope God is putting this to you. I mean, you can receive this the way it needs to be received. So, like I said, a lot of times people have to get themselves away from this darkness, this infant stage. You see, this is really what the accuser is bringing to people. You see, not just throwing dirt on your character. You see, is other things that he's using in the spirit of adultery, other things they're doing to cause people to walk in this half truth, half darkness mentality. Well, they're not accepting all truth. They're not coming to. Notice Jesus say you should know the truth and it should make you free. And Jesus is the truth to make you free. And the more you walk with God, the more God is going to make you free. You see, the more you're going to open up your eyes more and more and more and more. You know, and so notice this much. I want you to see this. Notice this much. It says that go through the 12th chapter. It talks about how God had them take the blood and take the blood. Now notice they had to eat the lamb. They couldn't break his bones. So notice that here's Jesus saying he is the lamb, and you have to eat me because he's saying that he's this lamb. That's what this lamb would represent him. Well, he's looking. Notice he's now going into spiritual meaning. Notice that the lamb was an animal, but really, so you look in the physical, you're talking about an animal. But in the spirit, God had a plan of that animal represent a man, not just a man, the man. Now, notice how God used this to prophesy about Jesus before he physically came in the flesh here. But if a person can't get that with no spiritual discernment, what they're going to do is say, what are you talking about? And they sitting up there getting ready for the Passover, want to kill him, and they don't understand. They say, let the blood of him be on us and our families, when this is all in here. And they don't even see it because, you see, they're so blind. It's a shadow, it's darkness all over this. The Pharisees were casting so much darkness and shadow, they say these people are cursed. Notice they talk about their own people, that they're teaching, they're training. So these people don't know the law, they're cursed. Now why don't they know it? Because you are the ones who's supposed to be training these people. You're the ones supposed to be hitting these streets. You're supposed to be the ones that went into them areas that was quarantined where people had issues with blood and people had leprosy. You were supposed to do this. But no, you sit back and just sit there and say, let them be accursed. And you wanted to just sit back and lord over them. Look at them. Look at me. I'm healthy. I'm much blessed. Look at them. They let them rotten. They're cursed. They're like, ain't you the one teaching them? Ain't you y'all the leadership? You know, person, you know, in a situation where they're in a church full of infants. You got a church full of infants. Why is that? Why is it not God? I need you to start putting judgment. I need you to move. I need you to get these people doing something. These people something needs to happen different here, God. There's nothing happening here. See, Jesus is gonna start operating these people. He's gonna make people move. See, sometimes ministers sit back and say, you know what? Well, I can't control all these people in here. You know, they don't want to do right. Oh, yeah. You can put some stuff in their lives. You know, think about it. God put some stuff in your life to get your attention. He put a burning bush in front of Moses to get his attention. So there's some stuff that you can let God loose in, and God go loose in, he can make some stuff happen. But if you're going to hold back his power, you're going to hold back his word, where are you going to get? You're going to get you trying to get them to move, hoping that they'll move eventually. Or you can go into God, let him loose, and let him make a move. Let him start operating their life. Let him get them to have to get off their, off their feet. Instead of sitting down, get them up, on their feet. Let him be the one. See, but when it's all us all the time, then how am I supposed to make? How am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to change? How am I supposed? And it ain't you in the first place. God already won the war. God is the one that already did the work. See, what you need to do is sit back, open up, and let him do the work. And see, what that means is submit yourself to letting him do the work. That don't mean sit down, never do nothing, and let God just go around. He's going to do everything. That's not what I'm saying. So you submit yourself to God, and God's going to tell you and show you as you go forth what he wants you to do. That's why it's so important to stay in prayer, so important to report to God. It's very important to report to God. Very important to report to God. So here, these people cannot understand who Jesus really was when he said this, because, like I said, they didn't have the spiritual discernment. They didn't have the Holy Spirit. They had no spiritual discernment. So therefore, in their mind, they didn't know what the truth was. You see, they didn't know what the truth was, and it wasn't like, it wasn't like they was, like with people now who say, well, the Bible's already wrote, and so therefore those people didn't have the New Testament. So how were they supposed to know that he was that? So when other people read, they can say, oh, well, it said Jesus was the Lamb, so we got the end of it. We got the end of it. So, you have people who say that. So they'll go into that, and they'll say, well, that's the difference. No, see, they rejected the Holy Spirit of God. That's one of the things that they always did. But notice that Jesus was the Lamb here, and everything that he was, it talks about this in Exodus 12. It talks about the Exodus 12. And why this is so important? This is so important because the fact of the matter is that the spirit of adultery, as we also says, the spirit of the accuser spirit, Satan is the accuser, and he also the adulterer, spirit of adultery. So he's using these tactics. You see, first he gets you to commit adultery, on God. He gets you to go back into the world. He gets you into worldly things. He gets you into not knowing the complete truth about God. He gets you into where you're not in complete likeness, where it's still shadows around you. It's still things that's blocking out God light. Well, he gets you in these things and gets you comfortable. He wants to get you in these things and get you trapped in them. And then when you don't want to accept them, he make life hard on people, as we see. Make life hard on people. He make, like I said, he make life hard on you and everywhere you go, on your jobs, make life hard on you here, try to make life hard on you there. But like I said before, the just shall live by their faith. God will promote you and pull you out of the situation. But these people did not understand that. They thought Jesus was insane. They thought he was insane. They thought he was a madman because he's telling people to eat his flesh, and they think he's a madman. Now, this is very important what Jesus was telling them to do this, because the fact of the matter is that sin brings on death, okay? Sin brings on death, and that's what the accuser loves. So that's what he loved to accuse you of. You ain't this, and you ain't that, and you ain't all. So he loved to want to accuse people of this. He loved want to keep people alive and keep people torn. That's what he wants to do, you see. And he wants so bad for people to hit hell. He know he lost. It's just as simple. He knows he lost. He lost the war. He lost the battle. He can't really stop you from getting saved. He couldn't stop you from getting born again because God already made the choice. He couldn't stop you from getting born again. So what he's trying to do is, as you go forth in God from the infant stage, you going up. As you're going forth, he's trying to cut you off at the knees. He's trying to say, I'm gonna try to make him stay in stage 1. I'm gonna do what I can to make him stay in stage 2. I couldn't stop him. He got in stage 3. I'm gonna do everything I can. I'm gonna come in with him, everything I got to make him leave. And that's what the Pharisees try to do. They started trying to intimidate Jesus. They started to try to say, we're going to start. Now, all of a sudden, they went from just some bad conversations where they're talking bad to him and trying to assassinate his character. Notice they tried to accuse him. They're trying to call them devils. They try to start doing this. You notice that when they try to accuse him in front of the people, it didn't work like they wanted to. And so when it didn't work at times, they started to be aggressive. Now they starting to go into, okay, now let's bring in legal action. See, now let's try to get him seriously into some legal action where we can get him killed. You see, now let's get him into some legal action. Let's get him to some prison time. Let's get him to to death. See, now let's try to change the laws. Let's try to use that to govern and to get rid of him. And that's the same thing happened to Joseph. Here come all of a sudden, here's this woman. When he rejects her, she started to say, okay, let's try to change this now. Now let's take it from being something where he rejected me. I could have just said whatever and went on with it. No. See, now I'm finna be a false witness because I know if I testify this, he will get punished to death. But it just didn't work out the way because God, once again, even though accuser can accuse you of something and they can try to think they can get rid of you, well, that didn't happen that way. But he was able to go to prison. He went to jail, but then God elevated him where his record was clean. Not just his record was clean. His record was clean. They changed his name. His name wasn't even Joseph anymore. You see, his name wasn't even Joseph anymore. He wasn't Joseph, son of Jacob anymore. He was the Savior. You see, he was, if I can say his name correctly, Zephaniah Nail, something like this, if I pronounce it right. He was meaning that he was the Savior. And that's what his name means. And he was, and so his whole name changed. It went from being something that was torn up, a slave, mistreated. It went from being cursed. It went from being somebody throwing dirt on it. It went from being all that until this is what his name is now. Now he's the Savior. You see, and so notice how the accuser, a lot of times what he does, he trying to hurt a person, accuse a person. Notice how in all this teaching we was going over, all these different stories, there's always an accusing factor in it. You know, it's like we was talking about Naboth. Now, notice Naboth had the vineyard. Now, notice that Jezebel, of course, Jezebel, of course, needed the Ahab wanted the vineyard. So Jezebel thing was to give him what he wanted. Now, she didn't stop to say, hey, and now she was a prophetess or someone supposed to be of God. She would have said, hey, listen, you don't need that vineyard. That's not yours. She would have told him, you don't even need this. This is not yours. See, if he had the right kind of person by his side, it would have been different. When he have a person by his side and say, oh, listen, I'll give you whatever you need. I'll do it for you. I get it. Don't worry about it. You just go on your merry little way and think about what else you want that you shouldn't have, and I'll get you that too. And just keep giving me your authority, and I keep doing it. See, you just keep kissing up to me and giving me over your authority, and I keep giving you what you want. And that's what she was doing to Ahab. She was just pelling Ahab. You see, he was getting what he wanted from her. She was getting what she wanted. She wanted to sit up there and be queen and everybody this and that, and Ahab next to her, pleasing her. You can do this, Jezebel, whatever this may be, and she giving him what he wants. Well, that's what goes on in this. Same thing. You know, there's a Jezebel component in this spirit of accusing. There's a Jezebel opponent in this adultery. So now we can start seeing a little bit more into this, how all these spirits that we've been going through, they're all connecting into this. You see, all of them are connected into these things because they all come from Satan. They all come from Satan. You know, we know the seventh spirit come from Cain, but where did Cain get this from? It came from Satan that brought it to Eve. All this is a spiritual, all these is spiritual, I would say not spiritual, this is wicked DNA. You see, wicked DNA from descendants of Cain is wicked DNA. That, you know, that's what it is. And so just like you have God who have good seed, you have the devil who have incorruptible seed. And so therefore you have incorruptible seed means people. And so you talking about people, you talking about doctrine, you talking about way of life, you talking about social groups, you talking about all this when you talking about people and the seed. So you talking about all these people, all these seeds, all this, that, all these spirits that's in corruption, that pretty much people are taking on their behavior patterns. You see people walking around with this Amorite mentality, walking around with this parasite mentality. People walk around with this Havite mentality. See, those are behavior spirits where they're governing people's behavior. They're taking over their minds, their decisions, causing a problem. Now, you notice in this teaching of adultery here and of the accuser, you notice how we see a Jezebel component where all of a sudden they start to change the laws. So now we're starting to see they changing the laws of God to get what they want. See, to make this happen. Notice that all of a sudden she changed the law. Jezebel on Naboth. See, all of a sudden she started to twist the law here and there, tweaking it. You see, tweaking the law here and there. You see, but you notice that she couldn't do it unless she had Ahab permission. Then she had to have Ahab authority, his signet ring, his seal. Notice that she had to have that. Now, why did she need Ahab? She needed Ahab because Ahab was the king. See, why do they need the people? Because the people are the kings. They just don't know what their identity is. But they need the people because the people are the one with authority. So notice that Ahab is giving over his authority in that sense of that to her, not because he's worried about her ruling over him, because she's already queen. That's not the point. He's given over it because he's thinking, I'm going to get something from it. Something I can't have, I can't get, I can't possess on my own. Because I tried on my best to bargain. I tried to do all the tricks that I can do. But Jezebel got better tricks. So I'm using her to get gain. Well, that's what he did. Now notice that's what this woman did. Notice she did this to Naboth. Oh, she twists the law and twists witnesses. But why? So she can get what she felt she wanted. So Ahab got what he wanted, but Naboth got dead. He got killed. And so therefore, that's how that worked out. And then we look at the story of Joseph. It's the same thing with Joseph, where the woman is trying to change up. See, by me being who I am, you just a nothing, a slave. So I'm going to accuse you of all this stuff. I'm going to try to destroy your image and call you a rapist, and you made a fool. And who is this Hebrew? See, who is this? Y'all thought he was highly ranked. Who is this guy? And make all this stuff about you. And then trying to set you up to lie, so therefore the law can deal with you on a false charge that they punish people by death in this situation. And so all of a sudden now she's using the laws to get her vengeance, to get what she wants, to use intimidation. So that's what Satan did. That's what he's been doing. He's been doing this. He's been doing this for the longest. That's why they call him the accuser, because accuser means he's a prosecutor. So he's been trying to prosecute cases on people for the longest. He's been trying to prosecute cases on people. This ain't nothing new. This ain't nothing new at all. He's been trying to use. That's like Job. Let's go. You go into Job. Notice how. Go to Job chapter. Let's go to Job chapter 1. And let's talk a little bit about that. I want you to write that down and get that into you. Job chapter 1. Because I want you to see that. Because, notice that how they was accusing Jesus of all kind of charges. They was accusing him of not paying taxes to Caesar. All he said was, give to Caesar what belong to Caesar, give to God what belong to God. Well, for some reason, their whole mind was, let's get him on tax evasion. See, let's get him in trouble with the government. Let's get him in trouble with the law enforcement, because that they knew that they couldn't take him. See, that's the thing about it. They knew that they couldn't take him, because when they tried to take him, the people was a division. Some of the people say, no, he's good. Some people say, no, we don't know who he is. Some people say he's bad. He deceived the people. Some people say something else. People say, oh, he's this. Some people say, oh, he's that. Some people say different things. So therefore, when he did the miracles, the people ruled, and the mob ruled. So when the people got around and they see a miracle, they say, oh, he's got to be a prophet or someone from God. So at that point, you can't take him, because to take him would be suicide for the Pharisees, because the Pharisees have insecurity because they know that they can't perform this. And so therefore, they want to stop the power of God. They want to get the people to put the bowl back over them. And Jesus shooting the light on, and he's trying to knock off all that darkness, all them shadows off of them. And the Pharisees trying to put a bowl over them. So the thing is, the top is the bowl is coming off, and it's not being hidden, it's coming off. And the Pharisees saying, man, we're going to have to do something about him. We have to kill him. We can't, because every time we try to grab him, he get away. Even our own soldiers come back and say, hey, listen, I don't know, something about him, man, the way he talked to you. See, we couldn't do nothing. He just disappeared in front of the crowd. We were seeing him here for a minute. He just gone. Well, we turn around, the people want to rise up against us. We're afraid. So they start saying, we can't do anything, so let's start using the government. So let's get him in the hands of the government. Then they say, then they get him in the hand of the government. And that's why when they got him in the hand of Pilate, see, they figured the people then would ordinarily side with the government, because the government, now here's the Romans coming now, and they saying that, oh, he's evil and he's been prosecuted. So they're going to say, see, even the Romans that rule over us, see, it ain't got nothing to do with us now. It's even them think that he's evil, and they made judgment on him. You see, because you have to see that. Well, even they try to use the government. You notice that Pilate said, why don't you judge him yourself? This is your law, your stuff. You see, but they said, oh, no, our law forbid us to kill. Now, how can they say that when they brought a woman to Jesus to stone her over committing adultery? They brought a woman in to kill him, for him to kill her because of adultery. They've been stoning people for years and killing them for years for breaking those rules and laws. Jezebel and them killed Naboth because the fact of the matter, they said that he blasphemed against God and the king. So this stuff that been going on for years they was doing. But all of a sudden now they said, oh, well, we can't kill anybody. We can't do that. We can't have that on us. But we put in the hands of the government. And Pilate kept saying, no, I don't see anything according to my law, according to me judging. Ain't nothing I can see that this man did anything under our law, under our stuff. There's nothing he did. But they kept pressing, no. And then they wanted to turn into, notice that they wanted to turn into this. They wanted to convince Pilate that he was evil. No, this man say he's a king and only Caesar a king. Also, they start showing their true colors, that they start to show that God is not their king, that Caesar is their king. He's our king, and only Caesar can be king. And if any other king say he king, then he's against Caesar. He's the enemy of Caesar. Well, God is king. But notice how they started to come out of them, because they were so wicked. And see, they wanted so bad to get this government to do something to solve their problem. You see, they wanted Jesus dead so bad. Even the government didn't have a problem with this. You see, they couldn't find anything to do it. So they try to put them in they know this much. Well, they really don't believe. So therefore, let's put them in a warlike situation where we're going to uprise and put Paul in this situation where he can't afford to have them uprise because he can't afford to have that. And then they're going to accuse him of that's why they threatened him. They threatened him and told Pilate that, see, he say he's a king and only Caesar could be king. Because, see, that's going to be the thing. See, this guy here, is we trying to when Caesar come down, we're going to say, Caesar, no, we're your servants. We try to tell him that, but Pilate wouldn't listen. He tried to at least let him go. And he see, that's what the pressure Pilate had on him. See, Pilate was worrying about that, you see, because that's what it was. That would have been his world. That would have happened to him. Because when they're all settled, that's what would have been what it is. So you saying that this man is a king over me, and this and that, your allegiance to this, he's a Jew. We over them. You talking about this, that, and so he would have that problem. So that's was something that he want to wash his hand of. I just want this to go away. I want to go back to yesterday before this came to my doorstep. That's the kind of pressure that was put on him, and he didn't believe. He knew something about Jesus. He knew Jesus was speaking the truth. His wife even told him. But the pressure of it, and then the whole thing of, man, if they come down here, do you know what happened? They're going to kill me. They probably kill my family. Oh, and on top of that, I'm going to be, we don't know. I don't know what Pilate's history was. Pilate could have came from a family of soldiers. I mean, he's highly ranked. That's a reputation that was big for a person of the world, especially a soldier. It's big now for a politician, a certain person that's doing certain things. They don't want no blemishes seriously on their record like that. So here he is, a guy who got highly ranked, and maybe he come from a family of soldiers or politicians or people that's in office, and so he wants to prove that he's another one in the line. So now all of a sudden, now I'm going to be the disgrace of my family. Now I'm going to have them hating me. I'm going to have dirt on my name. They're probably going to hang me out there and my family with me. All these things are happening. That pressure of what Pilate is dealing with. You see, that's a lot of pressure he's dealing with there. You see, and so for him to let Jesus go will be he putting Jesus over his own life. That means that he will be putting himself in a situation, I'm going to let him go, I'm going to let him loose, would be saying that I don't care what happened to me. I don't care about, I done gave up my wife. So if they're gonna do something to her, that's what it's gonna be. And Jesus more important, his will to get out for him to get loose. If it happens, then it happens. If